At the start of this weekend, we couldn't have imagined that all three teams at the top of the table would suffer losses. This is another episode of End of Days Play, and you're watching Uninvited Opinions. So, Nags, again, two teams at the top of the table playing today, and both lost. Let's talk about the first of them, between the game between the Royal Challengers Bangalore and the Chennai Super Kings. No one saw that coming.
Yeah, absolutely. At least both of us, I think, had written off Chennai. And it is just so funny that predictions in T20 games are not anybody's cup of tea. Chennai came out with a purpose. They still felt that 3 games were way too many to basically just give up on the fight. So the fight was there. They had brought in some fresh faces in the form of Mitchell Santner and Monu Kumar, and they were playing on a sluggish Dubai wicket. Both the teams would have probably foreseen the trend and would have aimed for a slightly lower total. So nobody actually went explosive at the top. If anything, probably the best time to score was at the power plays. So it was a sedate start by Bangalore, and they lost Aaron Finch, who looks increasingly out of sorts game after game. And then Padikkal fell, and then Kohli and De Villiers kind of stitched a reasonable partnership that tended to stabilize the innings. And I thought maybe they are waiting for the final 5 overs for that assault that De Villiers is so dreaded for. But unfortunately, that was the time when Chennai came back and got wickets in a heap. And apart from Kohli just going on to make his 50, nobody really contributed other than them. And RCB went out with 140 on the board in the mid innings. So they would have felt, and I think as viewers, we felt that that was probably a very competitive total, looking at the trend of the scores from yesterday's game.
Yeah, but I think probably this wicket is quite close to the wickets that Chennai are used to playing on. So I think this probably the Chennai bowlers sussed out the wicket quite early, and we saw the fickle nature of the T20 format. A couple of days ago, Mohammad Siraj was the toast of the Bangalore camp with wonderful bowling figures, and today he was taken apart because the Bangalore bowlers didn't learn from what Chennai did and instead bowled short, bowled wide, and then the Chennai batsmen took full toll of it. There was a good opening partnership between Faf du Plessis and Ruturaj Gaikwad, and then Ruturaj Gaikwad then carried on with another, I would probably call it a match-winning partnership with Ambati Rayudu. All three batsmen, Gaikwad probably was the slowest of the lot, but he still made sure that they were close to the asking rate, and du Plessis and Rayudu took all the risks, and that made sure that they kept the momentum in the scoring rate and allowed Gaikwad to build his confidence. He made a very good looking 50. There are a couple of shots where he came down the wicket and hit the spinners over the boundary, which is good to see. Your pick for the man of the match?
Yeah, I think for scoring that steady and pleasing half century in the winning cause, Ruturaj Gaikwad will be my man of the match. Although Sam Curran yet again came close to being a contender, having bowled brilliantly, taking those 3 wickets with the ball. But I think the way Gaikwad came out of his shell, and oftentimes it's probably the first run that actually gives you that confidence. Pleasing to see the seniors in the side back him and persist with him. So I think where the quality is there, it will show eventually, and that's what we came to see.
So on the back of that win, there was still an outside chance for Chennai to still make it to the playoffs, if results went their way. And for that to happen, they needed Rajasthan Royals to lose the game against the Mumbai Indians. But Rajasthan had thoughts of their own, and they came. It was a high scoring affair against the Mumbai Indians. I did not think that Abu Dhabi had another score in the region of 190 left in those pitches. But you know what? I think we saw some fabulous hitting today from both sides, especially from Mumbai to sort of get them to a brilliant total.
Yeah, I think this is the second game in a row where a team has scored in excess of 190, where yesterday KKR managed that. Abu Dhabi has had a new fresh wicket here. This is a wicket being used for the first time in this tournament. I think so. All the tiredness that we associate with used wickets is not applicable to this one. So this offers good bounce, and it allows batsmen to hit through the line. So there's no two-paced nature. So that is what I think is leading to these high scores, but it makes for exciting watching nevertheless. And Mumbai made the best use of it. So, despite Rohit Sharma missing another game, it did not necessarily affect the momentum. In fact, so much so that the other consistent opener in Quinton de Kock also fell early today. So it was left to Ishan Kishan and Surya Kumar Yadav to stabilize. But not only did they stabilize, but they actually upped the ante and scored very briskly. But then there was a phase where Rajasthan pulled things back. So there were wickets almost in regular intervals, in 10 to 15 runs intervals, and so much so that they actually got the wicket of Kyron Pollard only for the second time in this tournament. So we were looking for an interesting finish, and I didn't think that 190 was on the cards until Hardik Pandya actually walked out and showed the world why he is so highly rated around the world in the T20 circuit for his hitting prowess. I think the Rajasthan bowlers obviously missed the plot a little bit in the way they executed their death overs bowling, but it didn't require a bowler to miss the mark by a long way. A few inches here and there, too full or too short, he could get under it and he was striking them clean. In fact, let me correct that. I didn't think he middled a lot of them. In spite of that, a lot of them sailed over the boundary. So that was some exemplary hitting, scoring close to a strike rate of 300, scoring an unbeaten 60. And I thought that had completely turned the tables, and any fight that Rajasthan had left in them would have been gone by then. And Mumbai were certainly the more buoyant team going into the mid innings break.
Absolutely, and I think when again, just touching upon the fickle nature of the T20 game, a couple of games ago when Sunrisers played Rajasthan, Manish Pandey was striking them cleanly, whereas Ben Stokes was at the other end of the spectrum and he was unable to time the ball. He was the key reason why Rajasthan couldn't put a decent total on board. And what did we see this weekend? The roles were reversed. Manish Pandey yesterday was scoring at the strike rate of 50, and Ben Stokes was right at the other end of the spectrum, scoring a magnificent 100. He must have been under a lot of pressure. I think there've been a lot of calls for Butler to open the innings and for Stokes to move down, but I think he just looked in rhythm today. And right from the start, he didn't try to overhit the ball. He was timing them really well. And I think the Mumbai bowlers also erred in their lengths. I think they fed him in his hitting areas. There were the occasional instances where he walked down the wicket and changed their length, but in general they were either too full or they were bowling a little wide and short. And Stokes took full toll of it. And in the company of Sanju Samson, again they put on a partnership of over 150, which saw them with a home with more than 10 balls to spare.
Yeah, I think it's not often that we get to see three innings of such great quality in a single game. So it was Hardik Pandya's innings that we earlier talked about, but it was ably matched and probably even bettered by the partnership of Stokes and Samson. It was stroke filled. It was so soothing to the eye. There was no slogging, and it was just clean hitting. So it just shows that over the season, had the Rajasthan players, the batters, taken more ownership of the responsibility, then they would have found themselves in a much better situation at this stage of the tournament. But it still keeps them in the hunt for the playoffs, but they will still rely on some other results going their way. But then it still keeps the table very open and the viewers very interested.
Your pick for the player of the game? I don't think we can go further than Ben Stokes, I guess.
Yeah. So for the brilliant 100, the stroke-filled 100 match-winning cause, it's Ben Stokes, obviously.
And that's what the results this weekend have done. They've kept the table really interesting. We've got three teams at the top with 14 points, one with 12, two with 10, and just about one team with still an outside chance at 8 points, which is the Sunrisers Hyderabad, which, if they win all their games, then that might make the table more interesting. Which makes tomorrow's clash between the Kolkata Knight Riders and the Kings 11 Punjab even more interesting because, one's on 12, the other's on 10. Your pick?
Hard to pick. At this stage, this game is probably worth 4 points because it not only wins the 2 points for you, but it steals the 2 points for the other competitor that you have. So it's a very, very crucial clash for both the teams. I'll just pick Kings 11 for the sake of it, but then I'm just looking for a tight game.
Yeah, and if you remember the last time these two teams played, Kings 11 lost the game that they should have won literally by inches. Glenn Maxwell hitting that last ball with just falling. They needed a 6, and the ball fell just short of the boundary. So let's hope for another tight game tomorrow. That's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel to keep more videos coming your way. And as always, we'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, stay safe.